actually set up a goal and brought in new service line that our community benefits from. She advocates for our communities at the state and federal levels, and her strategic thinking provides opportunities for our community. So today, she's going to speak on our growth here in community. And you will get the camera on you, Kelly. So, Kelly. It's right there, fine. Good. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. It's good to keep you in with Ashley. So it's a little bit easier where I live currently. It's not morning person. I'm usually running late, so I'm glad that I'm to attend. But sincerely, I appreciate the opportunity. If you don't know a lot about Central Ozarks Medical Center, it started as Richland Medical Center in 1979. So we're definitely not new. Started serving Pulaski County originally in Richland, and then just grew into the lake and adding new counties, it feels like, and new service areas all the time. So now we are Miller, Morgan, Laclede, Pulaski, and Camden County. So Morgan was our most recent add with our link to Lori. So just a little bit about our services across the service area, if you are not familiar. In Richland, we have medical, dental, and behavioral health. We have one physician who has been there for 35 years, which is Barton Warren. So he is kind of the backbone of that clinic. We also have two other physicians there. Our chief medical officer works in that clinic. We provide family practice. We used to provide OB services in Richland, but all of that is primarily to our lake clinics. But lots of family practice in Richland, lots of behavioral health, dental program in Richland. And then we also just recently started working with the treatment court in Waynesville. And so we're doing a lot of substance use disorder treatment for patients who have primarily opioid disorder, but also a lot of meth patients. Unfortunately, we're seeing right now, and as kind of the availability of the opioids changes, you know, everybody kind of finds what else they can do and bring down them and back on the rise. We have a very unique relationship with the treatment court in Pulaski County, where we're able to provide services actually at the courthouse on the days when they come in, and so they're able to get behavioral health treatment and then also medication treatment for their substance use. So that has been the last 6 months. And we have over 200 patients that are currently getting treatment for substance use. Obviously, not all related to treatment court, but that has definitely been a large driver in that community, and then also in our lake. So, hoping to start providing those services soon at the lake community, specifically in Camden County. We do have substitute services here, but not with the treatment court. So that's kind of Richland and where we started. And then we expanded into Osage Beach in the early 2000s. So if you're not familiar, we're kind of one off Prime. We're back behind High Beach next to Columbia College. So it's kind of an interesting clinic, but that is where our OB services are. So I'm excited to share that we have a new OB, Dr. Smith. So we have Dr. Macias and Dr. Chisholm right now, and then we have a third OB/GYN that is going to be joining hopefully by early July. And so again, much needed services in our community. We actually have the only full-time OB/GYNs, Lake Regional, we partner with and love working with dearly. Their OB/GYNs right now are all part-time. And so we employ the only full-time OB/GYNs in our community. And then we also have pediatrics and family practice in that location. Unfortunately, we don't offer substance use services in that location, and right now we do not have dental in Osage Beach, but we do in Camden, and so it's not that far of a drive for our patients. Lori is the newest clinic that we opened, yes, and that it's almost been a year. So it was mid-June last year. We had the opportunity to lease a space in the Terrace Mall. And so we went for it. We did a quick renovation and We have a full FQHC in that location, medical, dental, behavioral health, substance abuse disorder, we have pediatrics, and we have limited OB services there with our family practice providers. So that location took off. There was so much need in that community and in Morgan County. Morgan County actually does not have an OBGYN in the entire county. And yeah, exactly. And it's a pretty good sized county. So they either have to come over to Camden County or Miller, or go to Salem. So looking at how we can work to try to meet that need for not just the community of Lori, Vermont, but county, right? And make it sustainable for us, but also break down that barrier for our patients. Because we know transportation is a barrier too. So, they gotta get over the toll bridge, $3 in the summer, $3 back, that's a lot for some of our patients. So that's the Lori location. We also have school-based services in Eldon. We technically have a full health center in their school district. We have dental clinic that is full-time permanent, even though it's on-site at the school. We have primary care, behavioral health, and a community health worker. So although it's at the school, most of the services are accessible to the community, and especially the dental clinic, because there's so much need. There's not a provider in the community that accepts Medicaid for dental services, and so we have just really been inundated and thankful that the school superintendent, Matt, is open to letting community members come in and utilize that clinic, even though it's on the school property. We also have the mobile dental unit, the mobile medical unit, we have behavioral health, I believe in 12 school districts, and primary care in 3 school districts. So that's everything but Camden. So that's kind of the medical and citizen services that we provide, and behavioral health, which we cannot keep up with right now. There's so much need for behavioral health service. And then there's Camden. So we have been serving the community of Camden directly for about 15 years. Right, we're actually now trying to figure out exactly when the date was, because we've been in several locations, right? But we think it's been about 15 years. And in our current location, it's been 4 years, right? So out across from, I always use Ferris as the landmark just because I love the place so much. So we are in that location. It will be 4 years. It was 4 years in March. Yeah, this year is going so fast. And we have already outgrown it. So in that location, which is nice, everything is still located within the site. So, dental is on one side, and then we have medical and behavioral health is up in the front. We also have our community health workers, which, if you're not familiar with that program, it's really meant to meet with our patients and break down what we call non-clinical barriers to healthcare, right? So prescription assistance, housing, food, electricity, clothing, transportation, right? All of those things that keep you from being healthy, but you don't realize it. So if you don't have transportation, how do you get to your appointment or your next appointment? If your medication is $500 or $50 and you don't have the money, are you going to choose between the medication and feeding your kiddos or school supplies? All of those types of things. And so that's what our community health workers do. They really work with our patients to find those solutions so that the treatment that they get from either the dentist or the medical provider or behavioral health is as effective as it can be, right? So we don't want our patients to have to make those choices. You have high blood pressure, or you have something else going on, then you are given this med that you can't afford to pick up. You're in a bad position, right? Also, they help with Medicaid applications, help patients who are new to Medicare and they don't understand maybe Medicare Advantage or how it works, or if they should even sign up. Also, marketplace for insurance, especially this year, their rates have been lower. We have more patients that are signed up and have access, because we know patients who have insurance, they're healthier, right? And it's better for our community. It keeps them out of the emergency department. Rather than come into the clinic. So every time we can help somebody get some sort of insurance, it's better economically for the community, it's better for the patient, right? So that's what our community health workers do. And then we have nurse care managers, in the clinic that take care of our most severe patients. So patients who have 2, 3, 4, 5 diagnoses that are complex, right? Have multiple medications, sometimes there's interactions, they're not taking them correctly, all kinds of things that they require some one-on-one services for. So we also have multiple nurse care managers in the clinic to take care of those patients and give them that one-on-one care between appointments. So that's kind of everybody that's in there besides we have primary care, we have sports medicine. So if you're not familiar with sports medicine, we call it non-operative ortho, right? So Dr. Kirkover, you know, his goal is not to send you to surgery. His goal is to help you, whether it's like ultrasound, guided injection, sports related, even though it is sports medicine. But like I have rheumatoid arthritis, he can see me for that, which is great. You don't have to necessarily see a rheumatologist, but there are things that, right? But there are things that he can assist with. And so he does sports med and family practice. We have Dr. Spiva who does family practice in a lot of substance use disorder treatment. We have a lot of 2 nurse practitioners, a PA part-time between clinics. And then we have all of our dental services, like I said, behavioral health, and we have a psychiatric nurse practitioner there, which is definitely needed in our service area because we don't have a lot of access to psychiatry. So that's kind of everything that's in that building as it stands right now. So like I said, we've been there for 4 years and we have outgrown it. So I believe actually wants me to share that we are expanding, if you haven't heard. So it's been a long project. COVID, the C word, right? Because we're also tired of talking about it. But the governor decided that he was going to give health centers some capital dollars in the state budget, which hasn't happened for about 12 years. We receive some federal funding, we do receive some state funding, but it's very program related. It's not like a blank check. It's very specific to services that are provided. And so we all had to submit a proposal. So there's 29, I'm sorry, I should have said there's 29 FQHCs in the state of Missouri. We all have independent boards. We're not connected, we're all independent. There's about 100 locations between all of us. You know, you can see school-based services, different counties. And how it would benefit the community economically, jobs related, increase access for patients. It's really the governor wanted something comprehensive, right? Like we're not going to just give you money to do what you're already doing. You need to make your community better all the way around. And so we submitted for campus and expansion. I asked for $3 million, and I got $3 million. Well, right, but then you get the caveat that you're responsible for 40% of it, really. So we have to come up with math, but that's okay because that ensures for me that we are spending money wisely. And $1.2 million. That's a lot of money because a lot of our patients are seen on the sliding fee scale and they pay $20 and $30. So it's a lot of those patients and a lot of services to get to a little over $1 million. But we're there. We are getting ready to, I think, in about 6 months. Finish up the floor plans, but we'll be adding about 7,000 square feet to the building. So yeah, we'll be maxed out as far as the little slivers of land that we own on both sides, and we're still trying to figure out. We added we'll be expanding dental services, and what's going to be really nice is we're going to add a dental walk-in clinic. So that is so needed in our communities across the service area, not just in Camden. Patients have a lot of same-day pain. It's one of the highest reasons that the emergency department is utilized. And if you've ever went to the emergency department or taken your kids to the emergency room for dental pain, they literally do nothing, right? They don't pull teeth, they don't do fillings. If there's nothing they can do, you might get an antibiotic. Walk-in clinic that just provides access all day for patients who have broken tooth on medication. I woke up with an abscess, like, you know, there's just so many different dental emergencies. And so to be able to walk in, there's patients come in, they can get things taken care of before work, they're not missing work, they're not having emergency department bills. We'll be adding walking clinic. We also will be adding sedation rooms, so pediatric sedation. So for kiddos, unfortunately, who have a lot of extensive dental work, usually they're top, the bottom, you know, on each side. And unfortunately, we see a lot of kiddos who have you can call it bottle rot. It's the typical, but you know, when they've been put to bed with juice in their bottles, or they have been on the bottle too long, they drink soda, whatever it is, you know, their teeth decay, and there's pain for the kiddos, right? We know that some baby teeth are gonna fall out, but still, it's a problem while they are trying to grow. They can't necessarily get the nourishment that they need because their mouths are sore. You know, you're not gonna put a 3-year-old in a dentist chair and extract all of these teeth. Our current dental director to do pediatric sedation, and so we'll be adding 2 sedation rooms so that we can take care of those kiddos, ensure that they have better oral health, and get them started, get them back on track where they need to be. So that will be the dental expansion, and it will double the size of the dental clinic. That's good. And then on the other side of the building, we will be adding 4 behavioral health rooms. So I think 6 more access points for behavioral health, and then we will be adding 8 more medical exam rooms. So it's almost going to double the size of the clinic. We will be adding additional like lab space and some of that. So, you know, with offices. So a lot of that administrative type space will be part of the, you know, square footage, but actual patient access rooms, it will be double for the community. So, you know, add staff, it'll create additional that's a loose term downstairs area. Let's see this fire suppression system that like Ashley likes to talk about. But so we do still have a little bit of space for growth if we need it. The other thing that we'll be adding. So yeah, all right. So the health center that we don't have right now is we will be adding a pharmacy in the building. So it will be a small pharmacy. It's not meant to necessarily compete with the pharmacies that are in the community. We have great relationships with all of them. In fact, we partner with all of them to make sure that our patients have access to a program called 340B, and it basically just gives patients who are on a slide without insurance access to meds at a much lower discounted rate. And then for patients who have access to insurance, it actually provides financial benefit to the health center without costing our patients anything extra. It's called 340B. There's a lot of federal and state regulations on it. So for the health center to be protected and for our patients to still have access to the meds that they need, we need to have a small pharmacy. And just so you know, like for our patients, they can get insulin for like 7 cents a vial. So everybody knows the cost of insulin is in the news all the time about the cost going up. If you're a patient at the health center and you are participating in the 340B program, you can literally get it for like 7 to 10 cents. And so it's a huge benefit for the patient, again, in the community overall. So we're going to put in a small pharmacy. I don't know how many meds we'll have. It will be primarily directed just at our patients. We will be taking inside, you know, pharmaceutical or prescriptions at this time, because we don't want to be taking care of our patients to make sure they have access to what they need. So that is the campus expansion. I hope it will be completed by December of 2024. Dental will go first, and then we'll just kind of work our way over. I think that's the plan. That's what I hear from the contractor. So that will be the expansion. The other thing that we are looking at is Besides pharmacy, as a new service line is potentially optometry. So we hear all the time from our patients and community members that access to optometry, that there's just not enough in the community. And so we are also looking at expanding into that world, which would be new for us as a health center. Several other health centers in Missouri already provide that service, but so we are looking at how we can best provide them. So I think that's it about the expansion. I can tell you that when I started in 2019, we were seeing about 15,000 unique patients. Last year, we were at 19,000 unique patients and 80,000 billable encounters. So that doesn't include the patients that are seeing the community health workers, other nurse care managers, and all the other things that we kind of take care of. And so it's been a lot of growth. Our budget when I started was 9 million. It's 28 million now. We have right at 200 employees. I think by the end of this year, we'll be at about 220 employees. So I'm proud to say that you know, we pay for our employees 100% of their health insurance. They have a really good benefit package. One of my main things as the CEO, besides making sure the communities have access, is I have just made it a personal mission of mine to ensure that none of our team members qualify for the sliding fee scale based on income alone. I just think that as an FQHC, we have to do better, right? And so there's two ways that a patient gets on the sliding fee scale they qualify: is patients and then income and number of people in the household. So I do joke and say I can't control how many people live in your house. I can't control how many kids you have, right? So if I pay you, if I pay you a fair wage, but you have 5 kids, you're still gonna qualify. I can't help that, right? But we can help you, but I can't help that you will still qualify. But on income alone, I want to make sure that we're taking care of our team members so that they don't qualify for the slide, because I think that's our goal. The other thing I'm excited to share, we all know that there's workforce issues, right? You guys probably have them in your businesses. We definitely have them in healthcare. So we're always looking at ways that we can hire and make sure that we have the best. And so we're actually starting some internal certification and training programs. So the first one will be a digital assisting class that hopefully will start in August, and it will be completely held at the health center. And so it will be bookwork and the clinical aspect, and then they will graduate December and have a position at the health center. And then hopefully in January, we will roll out a similar program, but for medical assistants. Because a lot of times the cost for those programs is prohibitive. They want to go into healthcare, but they don't have $2,400 to $3,600. They don't get financial aid from those types of programs. They can't have PC, there's all kinds of reasons. But we can offer those on site, and then they sit for the certification. And so we're also going to start addressing some of the workforce challenges in the community by rolling out those programs internally. So it'll be new for us. We've always been educators, but not in that realm. So hopefully the expansion in campus provides some space for that also. So that's it. In a nutshell, just a few things going on. I got a big board in the office with about 50 other things that we're working on too. But post-COVID, I think that health centers have kind of taken the lead in a lot of things, and we find ourselves in a lot of arenas that probably 20 years ago health centers would have never been, right? We would have only been providing medical, dental, and probably not even behavioral health. And now we're challenged by the federal administration and the state, like, what can you do for transportation? Because we're doing all these other things. Let's talk about housing. Let's talk about all these other things. So we just say in the next 2 years, 5 years, probably the sky's the limit on what federally qualified health centers like COC will be providing. So I see our name on our apartment complex for sober living, or you just never know. Is there any question?
So coming from Kansas City, I've been down there for like 9 years. People get head cold, whatever, they go to Walgreens, Express Clinic, get meds. Down here, we can't have an express here.
Right.
At all with any health system. Yesterday I went to the express here at Lake Regional. We have another practitioner transportation, see, we don't protect,
Yeah,
are you guys, you do that kind of thing?
absolutely. Well, so we don't have express care per se, but we will take walk-ins and same day appointments. You don't have to be an established patient. You just, if you need to be seen for an acute appointment, you wake up, you said your throat's a little scratchy, you're congested, absolutely. See, and I should have said, like, I always say, usually when I'm talking to people that may or may not have ever been to a health center, just want everybody to know, we are no different than any other clinic, right? Like, anybody can come. We just have the advantage, I guess, we'll say, of getting a little bit of money from the federal government to take care of those patients, the community members that don't have access to insurance. But as a health center, we take care of about 35% of our patients are fully insured, right? There's just not a lot of choices in our community. And so that's the first thing, like, just don't feel like because you don't have Medicaid or you're not on the sliding fee that you can't come to the health center. We take care of everybody. I should have also said we have full x-ray services also, so all of our locations have x-rays. Like, yeah, you can come in and just walk in and be seen. We have, so I wasn't really gonna talk about, we have a lot of quality measures that we have to do for the federal government, and it makes it really hard for us to open like a walk-in clinic, but it is something that we know is needed in our communities and that we are looking at. But all of our locations can accommodate a walk-in appointment. Say that as the CEO. But again, the good thing I'm the operations person here, well, I can believe she's gonna be just kidding. No, it's true. It might not necessarily be Camdenton, it might be in 6 weeks, but one of our locations can get you in the same day. Yeah.
About the optometry service that will that be through all of your clinics, or will that be specifically on, or is it going to be sent off in the side?
So it's kind of been a little flexible because of some funding challenges or opportunities, we'll say. Probably what it will be is a mobile unit that would serve all of our communities. Because what we're finding is you can purchase a mobile unit for like, $600,000, and it's fully operational, it'll have a lab, it'll have blood samples, it'll have 2 rooms, it has everything that a clinic has been, right? There's lower overhead, and you can serve, multiple communities, plus the kiddos at school, right? So that's the plan right now. We have also talked about though, putting in whether it's a lab or something in the basement in Camdenton. So if you get your glasses and then you need them adjusted, or like if you need like the day you get your frames delivered or whatever that is, then you would come to like a home clinic, because we don't necessarily know where the mobile unit would be. It might be serving at school that day. And so we have talked about adding, a couple, like one in Richland and one potentially in Camdenton, so that you would, patients who were seen on the mobile unit, they would have access.
So 2 things. First is just a comment. My brother is in Dallas. He actually runs the 340G program. He's a communication Texas. So
That's
if
amazing.
you ever have any questions or want a direct line in,
Yes, please.
let me know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's funny how the
Yeah, small world.
Yeah.
But okay, that's huge.
Yeah. And then the second question is you talk about increased demand for behavioral health. I'm just curious how those referrals or that demand gets noticed, because I don't know if people actively seeking it out, or they get referred in, or how does that
All of the
initiate?
above. And it's literally coming from, so Lake Regional doesn't provide behavioral health services. And that's right now not in their it's not in their plan, which is fine. I appreciate that conversation with the CEO, right? So we know what we have to do. So they refer, especially a lot out of the ED, because patients will present, and whether they're, manic or they're depressed or whatever the reason, I'm not going to try not to diagnose people, but so they will refer to us, their family practice, their pediatrics, they refer all day long for behavioral health, school districts. So even though we have multiple behavioral health providers in multiple school districts. Really, a behavioral health provider, their 5 kiddos a day is about all they can see. If you take that times 4, I mean, they're only maintaining about 25 kids, right? And we have Hamilton that has how many kids? Soto, the school, the Osage, another large district, Eldon, we can't keep enough behavioral health providers in these school districts. That's just another referral source. And then patients just call. I mean, they know, they self-identify, or they're like, a lot of it comes from family practice. The other thing that is a huge need that people don't necessarily think about when they think about behavioral health is autism testing, ADHD. So we have a psychologist, a child psychologist that does all of that. That's another huge need. So if you're a parent and you think your child has autism, or your pediatrician thinks that, like Thompson Center is kind of the premier testing in Columbia. They're 2 years out for testing. So if you have 4-year-old, and you think that you're trying to get services, 5-year-old, you need, an IEP for school, you have to have those diagnoses. It's 2 years out at the Thompson Center in Columbia to get your test. So, like our psychologist takes care of all of the testing, but we're booked out 2 years, but we could be. And so the referrals, they come from everywhere. And most of our behavioral health providers have a waiting list of patients because, what we also try to do at the health center, but there's just so much need is the goal of a health center in behavioral health is not to take care of like childhood trauma. If you were abused as a child, or it's not meant to be therapy necessarily at a health center. The goal was, not for me, but we're going to put behavioral health in a health center, is to take care of patients who maybe are non-compliant with their medication, or they get a diagnosis that they need to figure out how to incorporate with their life, right? I'm a single mom and now I've been diagnosed with diabetes, and I got 3 kids that I have to cook for at night. Like, how am I supposed to manage that? How do I deal with that with my family? That's what initially behavioral health center was supposed to be about, right? Kind of brief interventions about how to incorporate your health with your daily life. But that's not there is that need, but there's just the need for straight therapy services also. And so that is kind of what it's morphed into. We have been blessed to be able to actually hire behavioral health. There are so many health centers that have 6, 7, 8 openings, but they just can't hire behavioral health providers. So being at the lake has been a benefit, but we also look at some creative contracting. So all of our school-based behavioral health, they're kind of on like a teacher contract, which has allowed us to hire multiple because they want to be off and support their own kiddos, right? They want Christmas break, Thanksgiving break. They're willing to take a little bit less salary to work on that type of contract. And so it's allowed us to meet a need and to hire where other health centers are really struggling. But we do partner like with Compass. If we're far out on getting somebody in, maybe Compass has an opening, but vice versa. There's not a lot of behavioral health openings out there, but we really do try. It's a challenge.
So this too. How can community help guys and second this and before this go to Holly and I I was looking at work with her tomorrow. I just want to see if you're what you've done for your health team to make sure they don't hit that sliding scale. I don't think this group knows right now that there is an entry level healthcare worker that is actually paid less than most of the people who are taking orders at the conference. So to keep those areas staffed and they are vital, and to make that commitment to that entry. When we say entry in healthcare, we don't mean you have no skills. I mean you're just entering into this additional type of industry. You have skills and you have very good skills, but it's just that designation for the department.
Right.
That it just is irritating. So thank you for that. But how is the community can we help you guys do this?
So it's really an opportunity to ask. So we're actually getting ready to start. I didn't think she was not. I promise I didn't have to say her, but so we're actually getting ready to start our strategic planning process. I did one when I first started. We're required to have my person is who we get our federal funds from. you're required to have one. They are very stringent and strict, you know, I know there are people are on both sides, like, should you get federal dollars for healthcare, should you not? You don't get a lot. Just gonna tell you, as a portion of our budget, it's about 10%. And to 12% depending on kind of the month, but we are almost fully financially viable without the federal dollars. They just really subsidize new programs that the feds want us to do, you know, like there's no money in transportation from us, but if we need to get patients to the clinic and they have funding that's available, it provides dollars for those non-clinical. But just as a whole, on $28 million budget, we only get about $3 million a year from the feds. It doesn't even cover the sliding fee for our patients. So for people who think that, oh, we're sitting there at the health center getting a ton of federal dollars, that's not the case. But as a community, I would just say participate. There'll be invitations. They go out, we'll have a town hall, you know, for the community and business leaders to participate and just say, like, what are the needs of the community? What do you see for your neighbors, your parents, your kids? Like, what are the healthcare needs? What are the barriers that maybe we're not thinking about? Because we tend to think about the traditional things related to, you know, medications and the cost of healthcare and transportation, but there are other things that we could be doing, providing other areas. If you know communities that need access to services, just providing that feedback is the first thing. And just really, I would say, whether you're a patient or not, for everybody to be a patient, come and see how wonderful it is. But you know, just remember that federally qualified health centers are really one of the only true bipartisan supported funding options that has, I mean, not option, but everything feels like an option this year, what's going on in PC. But really bipartisan supported, and they have been since the 70s. So whether you're a patient or not, just to advocate and support the health center, because you can go to Lake Regional or you go to Jeff City, wherever you need for healthcare. But we have 19,000 patients and growing every day that need access at the FQHC, or they prefer access there. And so just really advocating for it and supporting. And if you have questions, just reach out. We're always willing, but really not knowing and not being educated is the biggest hurdle and the biggest deficit for community members when it comes to supporting the health center, because there is a lot of misinformation out there, or kind of some preconceived notions about what we do or who we see or who we don't see. So just knowing is really the biggest level of support. But 19,184 last year, but the first quarter of this year, we've almost seen 10,500 unique patients. So, all right. Thank you very much. Okay, good to in the morning. Start reading the last 3 minutes. I think my glasses on. I think I'm Tris. 386. That's you. It's not. All right, just real quick, and then we'll finish here. But who has been don't see as a patient? Yeah. All right. Not a lot of cards to choose from.
Yeah, so it's like, well, yeah, right. You can-
And everything we in your heart.